Hello and welcome to another episode of the 𝘵𝘪𝘴 Show. Today we are going to talk about how can you turn from being miserable, unsatisfied, unfulfilled at work to being joyful and fulfilled without having to change careers. Because for many people who are unhappy at work, they need to change careers, but many people don't want to break everything down or burn everything down. There are a lot of things about their careers that they like, but they also need to change something or many things to feel joyful again. So as you're coming online, tell me you're here in the comments, say hi, tell me where you're tuning in from. This is a live conversation, and in a moment I will be joined by the amazing Michelle Franklin. Michelle Franklin is a global healthcare executive. She has more than 20 years of experience in patient safety and quality. She has launched outpatient clinics in Dubai. She has revamped risk systems in the US, in their healthcare systems. She has an knack for turning complex challenges to strategic wins. And she's an amazing human being. I met her when she joined my VisionPath program, and she's going to generously share her story, her insights, her journey towards finding more joy in her day-to-day work. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Michelle on. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, good morning. Good morning where I'm at anyway.
Michelle is in San Francisco. It's quite early, her time zone. It's the end of the day. That's where I'm from, in Europe. So it's nice to meet across time zones. And as we will have this conversation, feel free to ask us questions. Both myself and Michelle were keen to have a conversation with each other, but also answer any questions you might have. So, Michelle, we met beginning of 2024. When you joined the VisionPath program. Tell me, where were you at the time? What was going on? What made you start that journey of vision setting and vision connecting?
Yes. At the time that I took the VisionPath course with you, I had I have been following you on LinkedIn and through your newsletters for some time. A friend of mine connected me with your newsletter. So I had been following that for a while and really thinking about, I was not happy in my career. I had just returned to the US after about 5 years of living in the Middle East. And I was really having a hard time reconnecting to the US. And I was very unsatisfied with the work I had been doing. And I was just generally miserable with everything. And I, on a whim, quit my full-time job and took an interim job out here in California. And I was like, okay, I got to do something. I'm just not happy. So when the VisionPath came across my email, I was like, oh, let me try this. I really need I need to do something different. So let me see if I can find my way through a VisionPath by, I'm going to change jobs. I'm going to quit everything. I'm going to just scrap it all and find some new vision to follow. So that's kind of where my head was when I joined VisionPath.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, I was just going to say, so yes, it was just I was very unhappy at the time.
Okay. Can I ask you if you want to share what made you move back to the US? Like, was it your choice, or because it felt like the move also made the situation a little bit challenging?
Yeah, I had a series of things that happened in my personal life that were not really my choice. Prior to moving to the Middle East, I had been terminated from a position as a very high position because of a merger and an acquisition. So I lost my husband had passed away from cancer, and about 3 months later, I lost my job in the merger and acquisition. I went to Dubai. I was recruited to go and open a clinic in Dubai. And when that contract ended, I didn't have, they didn't extend my contract or offer to take me back to the US. So I found another job in Abu Dhabi, and then the pandemic happened. And when the pandemic happened, it was kind of a decision point of whether I should stay overseas or move back to the US to be closer to family in case, in case there was a need. And so, no, there was a whole series of things that I felt I had no choice in, and that contributed to my sense of misery, because I felt like I was out of, like I had no control over what was going on, and I was basically felt trapped and forced into, to these situations. So, actually, that was part of the big shift that happened through VisionPath, was my, through the work that we did, accepting your reality and letting go of things that no longer serve you. And, through those exercises, I really started to see that number one, what I thought was painful and I was fighting against it and resisting it, actually turned out to be okay. I mean, there was a lot of really positive things in all of, sadly to say, even in the experience of losing my husband, there were a lot of things I learned along that journey that turned out really as I thought about them in a different way. And that's really what VisionPath helped me do, is just think about it in a different way. It really did. I just started to see things in a more positive light, and realize I actually had a lot more control over things in my own, like how I experienced them. I couldn't stop them from happening, but I could see it differently, and I could stop the negative tape that played over and over in my head that made me the victim, instead of being able to just appreciate the experience that I was having.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is that when you find yourself in the US, not feeling, you said, unhappy and miserable, it wasn't just what was happening in the moment. It was carrying from the past all the loss, like and nobody can deny that, like losing your husband and the job and the pandemic. Like there's a lot of a history of loss, but the story you had was also weighing on feeling unhappy in the moment, right? Carrying all that history of loss.
Yes, exactly. I had, well, I was in a career that I didn't actually even choose to go into. I sort of got into it by default, because I have friends who are nurses, and they all say, "Oh, I knew since I was 3 years old that I wanted to be a nurse." And that wasn't my case. I didn't really ever want that career, but just through, again, a set of circumstances, I landed in the career. And then once I got into it, I didn't, again, what I learned from VisionPath is I was living from a place of feelings of scarcity, of fear, because you make okay money working in healthcare. And so I would be afraid if I took another job in something else, I wouldn't make as much money, or I wouldn't ever find another job if I left this job, or, so I was just always in this place of, I'm not happy. I don't want to do this. I'm resisting everything about it, but I feel trapped. And, so that had been a lifelong pattern. And again, as I started to, the last thing we did in VisionPath was make our vision board. And when I created my vision board and I actually took a step back and looked at it, I was like, actually, most of what my vision is, I'm already living it. And I have been living it all along. I just couldn't see it. And once I kind of got that, it really changed everything for me. It's been, I've talked to my friends. I said, I'm in a job right now that is a very high pressure, very big responsibility. I said, this would have usually put me into a tailspin. I would have been probably apoplectic over some of the stuff that's going on. But I've loved it. It's been some of the best time I've ever had in a very unexpected way. So that's really the transformation that I've had from, a place where I was unhappy, resisting everything. And once I just accepted my reality and I stopped, I liken it to that game where you put your finger in one of those little bamboo tubes. You put both fingers in each end, and the more you try to pull your finger out, the tighter it gets, until you relax your fingers, and then the bamboo tube relaxes, and you can take one out at a time. I think that's what VisionPath helped me do, is take my fingers out of that and stop just constantly fighting against my reality.
This is incredible. And that's the first week of Vision. Like, we start with releasing attachment and resistance, because I found, okay, this is the first step. And in every map, you say you're here. Unless you accept I'm here, it's hard to do any type of path. And most people, instead of, they just resist the I'm here. And I'm glad you're bringing this. But then week number 2 is releasing fear and ego. And it's what you said, like feeling, oh, what if I don't have financial stability if I leave this? Like, you feeling out of choices or trapped. It looks like you did some work on releasing that scarcity or that fear. And it might be that healthcare was where you wanted to be, and it's not now because of fear or because the money is good. It's just becomes more of a choice now.
Absolutely. And I think simultaneously to doing VisionPath, I had also been following Insight Timer on, an app on your phone, exploring different ways of mindfulness, because I think that is another really key shift that I made in my, in my lifestyle, is that I was always thinking that the next thing would be the thing that would make me happy. If I change jobs, I'll be happy at this next job. Or if I move to this city, I'll be happy in that situation. Or, I was just always, I would achieve something, and then I'd be on to trying to figure out what the next thing I should try to achieve is. So I was just always doing something else and not appreciating, like, right where I was. So through those mindfulness practices and really spending time, there's one particular person on there, a meditation guru, that I really connected with, because he reinforced a lot of the things that you were talking about as well. And that, for the audience, that person's name is David G, if you want to look him up. But I really started to spend a lot of time meditating and trying very hard to stay present, because that was one thing you emphasized. That's something that he also emphasizes, being present in the moment and just like enjoying that present moment, instead of thinking about what happened in the past, being disappointed by what happened in the past, or hoping to go somewhere else in the future, but just being present. And I think that has also been a huge, I still fall back into some of those old patterns, but I can recognize that now. And when I come back to that center point and that stillness of just being present, it just makes a huge difference. I was facing a kind of a challenging situation with one of my employees in this current position. And I had really, I was just getting more and more and more frustrated. And fortunately, I was able to take a couple of days off. But when I took those days off, I really took some time to sit back and sit in the frustration and the quiet, and just be still. And, I realized I can't control that person, and all I can do is control how I react to it. And, I was able to just sort of come back and think, I'm in a very joyful place now, and I don't want to lose that. So I'm not gonna let these little wobbles in my circumstances take that joy away, because nothing is permanent. It will all change. Things will come, things will go. And that it's those types of the ability to see that has really made a difference.
Yeah. Yes. So I want to highlight some of the things you said for all of us who are listening and they're feeling miserable at the moment, work, circumstances, the town. So Michelle is giving you like a little of a roadmap, and especially the being present in the moment. That's where your life is. That's where you will find the peace and quiet. But not accepting reality is one thing, but sometimes you will be frustrated, like Michelle just said, right? With the employee. She said, sit with the frustration. That's what I say when people say, what happens when I cannot accept reality and I feel really frustrated? You accept the feeling, you accept the resistance. And once you sit with the feeling without fighting it for long enough, it will move through you, and then the peace will come and you will reconnect with the joy, which is there under the emotional storm and the thinking about the past and the future. Let's see, we have some comments. I have Michelle is amazing from Olivia White. Thank you. I agree, Olivia. And we have another comment. That's like super inspiring. Just listening someone sharing such a life-changing experience. How did you summon the power to push forward?
Well, I think if we went way back, I started in a family that was not probably the best circumstances, but somehow I innately always recognized that there was something more spiritually, I think, something more. Not that I'm a particularly religious person, but I just recognized that there was something more meant for people, anybody. So that's been something that's been with me for my whole life. Maybe I was just innately born with it. I don't know, but I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a seeker. I'm very open to what experiences come to me, and I'm pretty intuitive about that sort of stuff. So, when I started reading your newsletters, Katerina, you were talking about a lot of things that really resonated with me. And I was like, okay, there's a lot of other people that have had big challenges. I'm not the only one that, have had things happen that were beyond their, made them really struggle. Many people have struggled much, much worse than I have, but yet they've persevered. So I think it's just knowing that, we're meant to be in a place of joy. And you wrote a newsletter one time about playing a game. We call it chutes and ladders in the US.
Yeah.
I think. But anyway, the idea that sometimes you go down a chute and sometimes you climb up a ladder. And the main thing that really, I think, helps me find the power is coming back to this idea that maybe the object of life isn't to win the game, it's just to play the game. And I was talking to a friend last night about doing this, and we were reminiscing that we had worked together in another place, and we were like, oh, if we'd only stayed at that one place, we would have been, one of our other friends just retired. We would have been retired by now. And I said, yes, but if we would have stayed there, think of all the things we would have missed, all the experiences that wouldn't have happened if we didn't move through the life that we are moving through right now. And some of those experiences were painful and some of them were just amazing. And when you put it all together, it's a pretty cool tapestry, really.
Yeah. And it feels like it's designed to help us grow. It's not always happy, although, if you manage to be in the present and release resistance and clicking, you will find the quiet joy, etc. But it feels like all of this is like a waking up journey of, okay. So tell me specifically, like you start with a lot of resistance and you start doing the work, releasing some of the potentially non-control or victim home story. You're releasing that. How do you know? When did you notice, oh, I'm actually happier? Or did you make any external changes in the circumstances through connecting to your vision? Or it was just at some point you noticed, oh, I'm actually happy now. I'm not miserable anymore. How did that happen?
Well, I think it was kind of a gradual. I didn't really. When I made that kind of just on a whim, quit my permanent job, I took a job that was an interim assignment, so
Yeah.
it was meant to be for a specific period of time. And that also probably helped play into the mindset changes. It made it a little bit easier because I didn't, I knew that circumstances would be changing at a certain period of time.
Yeah.
But I think it was more of a gradual, when I would start hearing that. I've just recently been listening to a book about the chatter that goes on in your head all the time, how you're constantly talking to yourself. I started noticing, in fact, in one of our sessions, VisionPath sessions, I made the statement, oh, I just hate doing this work. And you kind of called me out on it. And you're like, hate is a very strong word and words really matter. So I started really paying attention to that self-talk. And when I would have those, oh, I hate this, I'm so unhappy, I'd like consciously then stop myself and go, no, let me reframe it. What is there about it that is good right now? Like I just tried to, or if I was really in one of those, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm whatever, I would remember, okay, this feeling isn't going to last forever. I just need to feel it for now and move on. So it was just those little baby steps of making, and trust me, it's not perfect now. I still every day is, I have messaged you to say, oh, your latest newsletter, I really needed to hear that because I forgot those points and I was drifting off into my old. So I think it's really, it wasn't like a big aha moment that suddenly I just woke up feeling, completely different. It was just a gradual moment by moment, going through the 6 weeks of the Vision Path, referring back to the information, continuing with my meditations, and just gradually, little by little.
Okay. So in terms of what making it practical for people, in terms of what you did, there was a lot of inner work. There was a gratitude practice, it looks like.
Yes.
And gratitude practice, it's not that, oh, I'm denying there's a problem here. It's just because we have negativity bias, we just want to see the whole picture. Our brain will only see the negative because it wants us to survive and, survive. Like if you see the negative, it helps you to survive because you see the danger and you don't want to repeat it and you solve the danger. That's how the brain is designed. So you need to be very intentional because it's going to ignore all the things that are going well. So a gratitude practice and seeing the whole picture. It's not about denying that this thing is not going well. It's about seeing everything else that actually, like having a more accurate perception of reality. So gratitude practice, meditation to be in the present. So because our mind is so, usually they say 80% of the thoughts are negative. It's either rumination about the past, worry about the future, like the whole thing of quieting the mind. And there's something, my work since VisionPath 2024 has evolved, including a lot more meditation and breath work and body. Like you saw in the last Align retreat, I had a lot of more somatic practice because I realized, oh, we need to bring the body into this. Reframing, it's good, but you're still working with the mind. Like, how can I help people quiet the mind, connect with the body, which is what will anchor you to the present? So I love that you're bringing that up because that has been something I've been incorporating even more in my work since the last time we worked together. So mindfulness, gratitude, being careful about the words you use. anything else you did in your day-to-day, anything, any actions you took, or any thoughts, mantras you were saying, what else helped you in that journey?
Just reflecting on, you know, things like feeling the feelings and recognizing that they're not going to stay that way forever. Thinking about, you know, when I would get into sort of those negative thoughts, I would be remembering, you know, they're like clouds, just let them float by you, and, you know, don't like get focused on them. Also thinking, is the narrative I'm telling myself really true? Because, you know, there was a big component too of feeling like not just never feeling good enough, never feeling like, you know, like I was worthy of anything different, you know, like just feeling like this is just the way it's going to be forever, and it's never going to get any better. And so, like, is that narrative really true? No, it isn't. And so, those, you know, I think those kind of, and mostly it's just constantly having to bring your conscious attention to it, because it's so easy to just get lost in the everyday, everyday life, that you just drift off the course.
Yeah.
I love your story about the whales and their, you know, their navigational system. And I think about that a lot too, that, you know, it's my navigational system now to find my way back.
Yes. Okay, you're mentioning now self-worth, and that's an issue for so many people, because it's hard to allow yourself to experience the joy that you have available. And I looked at the bio you sent me. You said, Michelle, whenever she's not in healthcare, she's traveling, sipping wine with friends, spending time with family. I was like, this sounds like a fun life. And you said, when I looked at my vision part, like you had the travel and the, you know, there's so many beauty in there, and love and joy. But it's hard to allow ourselves to experience it if we feel, oh, not good enough, or I need to earn it. And whether it's through hard work or through suffering, like how did that evolve? Because I think there must have been some work there in order to allow yourself to enjoy the joy.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was just returning to listening to outside. You know, you reinforced it. My meditation, the people that I meditated with reinforced it, and then changing my self-talk to reinforce it, because, you know, we get mixed messages a lot of times in society, where they're saying, oh, you know, you are worthy of these things. But then on the other hand, well, you're not really, because you did A, B, C, D. And so, you know, it's a mixed message. And I just finally had to, like, really through the work and conversations with other people that were doing VisionPath and working through that too, and listening to the different mindfulness, and then changing my own self-talk. I was like, really, we really are worthy just where we are. We're valuable just where we are. We don't have to try to earn that, or, you know, another job, a bigger title, more money, a different house. None of those things makes me any more worthy than I am just being right now.
Yeah. And releasing this, I'm so passionate about this. This is my TEDx topic about ego-driven goals. I'll be happy when I need to achieve these for me to feel worthy, to prove to other people. Releasing this, I'll be happy then, or I need to achieve this to be worthy. It's such a huge relief. And like when I gone through this transformation, when I released these things and I could just be, and I need to achieve the next thing, or grow the business, or get more followers, or whatever. Every one of us, like other people have titles, or when I released that was one of the biggest jumps on my happiness. And that's why when they asked me, do you want to do a TEDx? What do you want to talk about? I was like, I'm going to talk about ego-driven goals, because that was such a huge aha moment and such a huge change in my journey. So I'm glad you're bringing that up. So, okay, so you're doing this. And something else I wanted to share is sometimes the old thing, like whether it's a victimhood story or a lack of self-worth story or pattern, obviously has been reinforced by our condition and upbringing and stories. And it feels safer. Did you feel that? Like even though it feels miserable, it kind of feels familiar and comfortable, kind of miserable and comfortable at the same time. Like the whole venturing into the new thing, sometimes it feels, oh, it's unknown. Let me go back because that's what I know. Like, I think what I love about what your story is, like, I had this pattern for years and you still manage to get out of it, because I have so many people, that's the way I am. And that was my upbringing and I cannot change. Like, can you talk about that? Like how it pulls you, because even though it's miserable, it feels comfortable and safer sometimes.
Well, I think it goes back to that, what I said earlier about just accepting the reality of what it is. I mean, I do have a tendency, that is my comfort zone, to be in that space of, what if this doesn't work? What if I can't do it? And if I can't do it, then I might not ever be able to do anything ever again. And what if I can go there in an instant and be very, doubting, fearful, frustrated, angry, resentful. That's where I've lived most of my life. So, it's every day, it's a journey. And honestly, the more you do it, the easier it gets too.
Yeah.
So the more I release those other things and accept my reality and, stay in the present moment, the easier it becomes to do that, because that becomes then more familiar than,
Yes.
start
That's the
to
whole neuroscience. Right? Like the neurons who fire together, wire together, and if you have like a groove, like a deep groove of whatever, like ruminating or worrying about the future, or you practice the new thing. But I like what you said. I'm a seeker, I'm a learner, I'm learning. So I am going to practice a new thing, and it will become easier and easier. And at some point you'll find yourself not worrying. I was like in my 20s, like I had insomnia, like, and now I don't worry that much. Like at some point you just realize, oh, I used to do that. I don't do that much of worrying anymore. Like we have, thank goodness, and plus this neuroplasticity, and we can do a new growth in whatever, time of our life. It's not like who I am. But it requires some courage to let go things we have identified with. Whether it's, and some people will identify with a story, and sometimes you need to let that go, and that can feel like a loss.
Well, I've always been somebody that identified with my work and my job. And I grew up in a family that identified with work and job. And I made a decision. I did your quit or recommit. I was kind of on the fence about this. But I made a decision. I will finish this interim contract, will end at the end of August, and I'm going to take 4 months off. I've never done that ever in my life. Even when my husband died, I took 3 days off for bereavement leave and went right back to work. So this is the first time, and believe me, I've had to do a lot of self-talk to keep reinforcing, you can do it. It'll be all right. Not the world. The sun will still come up, even if you take 4 months off. You're not going to be financially ruined because you took 4 months. It'll be okay. Like I have to continually tell myself that, because otherwise I revert back to the, oh my gosh, what am I going to do if I actually, what happens if I take 4 months off and I don't ever find another job again, So it's just constant every day working on it, but I'm really excited that I'm going to explore some new opportunities and, I'm going to just let what happens happen and be grateful for it.
Love it. Okay, tell me about your sabbatical then. You start in the end of August. Um,
I
what
was
are your
gonna
thoughts?
say,
Maybe you have nothing planned, and I don't want to force like tell us about your sabbatical, but what's the dream here?
well, it is a big, I'm going to realize a very big dream that I've had, which is to go to Bhutan and hike to Tiger's Nest. So the monastery that kind of hangs off of a cliff in a beautiful country. So that's the main thing I'm going to do on my sabbatical, is take that journey. And I think it will also contribute to the spiritual growth of just, being present, being in the moment, and enjoying the beauty around you for the beauty around you.
Yeah. I'm so passionate about this. Like, I had watched a TEDx talk that was talking about taking a sabbatical every 7 years, and I started implementing it in my life. Last year, I had a sabbatical in Costa Rica, 7 years before in Thailand, and they were the best things I've ever done. Like, I found it so, like, when you declutter, like Marie Kondo, you take everything out of the wardrobe and then you just put what brings you joy back in. I think the sabbatical is kind of like that. Like, you take all work out, and then you only bring back in what brings you joy. So I found that hugely helpful and transformational. Changing countries as you will do, it's also very enriching because you see other ways of life. Just having time to be. I'm such in favor of sabbaticals, and I find it helps the work as well. Like, my experience with the whales, which was the aha moment that helped me define, no, vision is not the image of the future. Vision is your navigational system. It happened while on sabbatical. It wouldn't have happened if I was on my desk working. It happened when I was looking for whales and I couldn't find them. This insight that I was able to incorporate later in my work. I want you to talk a little bit about when you become more present and connected to yourself, because you said, like, you were when we discussed about this before, you were following what you have to do, what you thought you needed to do, and now it's more connected. Oh, I love to go to Bhutan, like more connected to what really wants to come through. What's the benefit, not just for you, obviously, but for the people around you, whether it's colleagues, clients, friends, and family?
Well, I was talking to a friend who worked with me. She was actually one of my employees, and when we were overseas. And I said, I was explaining the circumstances with this employee in this current job. And I said, this just would have sent me over the edge before. I said, do you notice any difference? Do you think she goes, oh, absolutely. She said, I really noticed it. A difference, particularly when you started really meditating a lot, when you were, she's like, yeah, definitely. You seem a lot more calm and a lot more, you're a lot more able to handle this than you would have been before. So I feel like, again, it's not perfect. It's a journey. It's constant work in progress. But my two sons, they spent their whole life with me just basically focused on work, and it still gets in the way sometimes. It's not, that hasn't entirely, it's not like a magic wand that just makes it all go away, but we're more, we can actually talk about that now. So, if I'm supposed to be with them but preoccupied with work, they'll call me on it, and I can actually say, oh yeah, you're right, I slipped back into that. So let me put the phone down. Let me come back and try to be more present with the people that I'm with.
And also, but it's different, being preoccupied with the work you enjoy. And like, there's nothing wrong with being passionate about work. And obviously, yes, you need to be present with the people you love. And it's a little harder because even if you work fewer hours, if it's draining, if the work is really draining, then there's nothing left for your loved ones. There is a difference from work to work as well. Like, just enjoying the work more, it's not just time, it's energy that there's left then for other things.
Absolutely. I do find that. I was very much drained by work before, and now I work, but when I go home, I got other things I'm interested in, and it's not the all-consuming feeling like I'm got a boat anchor hanging on me every day.
Okay, I want to ask you about that. I will invite our audience, if you want to ask any questions, nudge the time as we'll begin to wrapping up. So this is so many of the vision path. I was reading all the intentions, all the people who join, all my clients. Many come for this intention, like work was their whole identity. And now something has changed. Some people approach retirement, some people become parents, some people got redundancy or left their job, their business closed. Somehow something happens and work is not the core of the identity anymore. And sometimes it feels like a huge loss. They feel lost. They want to reconnect with their vision. And sometimes it's a choice. Like you just at some point realize, I don't want work to be my all consuming, all encompassing. There's more things in life, like spiritual growth and loved ones and hobbies and joy. So how was that transition for you?
Probably I did start this because I am approaching retirement. So that probably is part of why what motivated me in the beginning to start it. But I have always, I've been working since I was 13, and I've always identified with work. Who everything was tied up into that. So, yes, I agree with you. I think there is, you experience it as a loss, any kind, particularly when you're in a job, maybe that you're really in the flow with and you're really enjoying it. Then you have something sudden happen that's not in your control, like the pandemic, or like getting terminated because of a merger or whatever, or maybe just terminated because of a cut,
Yeah.
that is, you do really experience that loss. And I don't think I took the time in some of those cases to fully appreciate that it was a loss. I just moved on, so this has been a good time to go back and reflect, to say, yes, that was hard. It did sting. It really felt like a loss. But in hindsight, had I not had that loss, a lot of other things might not have happened, and I would have missed out on, some great things that did come as a result of that. So I did feel that, for sure. I just didn't fully experience it at the time. I just moved on to the next thing.
I get it. You're like, let's get this done type of person. But now you just consciously said, I'm going to take a break. So you
Yes.
must have transitioned. The identity is not whole work now. Like this identity has transitioned.
Yeah, I do see that. I have, I have friends, I have family, I have things I enjoy outside of work. Those were like, I don't know, think of it like a pie chart or a Venn diagram or something. Work was the big slice of the pie, and all those other little things were just scattered slightly in there. But now I'm kind of trying to flip that so that I will still have to work. I'm not financially independent where I will never, I will still have to work. But I put the work more in the perspective of the big picture of life. I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to spend some time with my family and some of my friends and experience some new things. And I think I will come back to work even more refreshed and clear about what I'm going to do for the rest of the time that I'm working.
And I'd love to follow up however you want, like after your sabbatical, like as a follow-up, whatever, you can write an update. Like I'm sure people want to know what happened after the sabbatical. You mentioned like you didn't choose the healthcare. Was it you didn't choose it, but you spent a whole 20 years, you were good at it. And at some point through all the mindset shifts and the inner work, did you start enjoying it again? Like, how did it work?
I am from a family who my parents owned a healthcare center for, so I was kind of born into that healthcare realm, but I really didn't intend to be a nurse and to be in it in that way. And I think through doing this internal work and reflection and really thinking about what my vision is and what my values are and what's important to me, I think in reflecting on this, healthcare was probably exactly where I was supposed to be. I mean, that's probably what my destiny really was. And at times it has brought me a lot of joy. It is a challenging and difficult field to be in. Especially right now, nurses are experiencing burnout at a rate that has never been in history before. Just for a lot of reasons. The pandemic changed a lot of things. There's a lot more violence and abuse toward nursing than there ever was before. So I really have it's something that I am grateful to have been part of. I've been actually a nurse for 42 years this year, so I'm grateful to have been a part of it. It wasn't what I envisioned, and it wasn't always what I wanted, and I fought against it for a lot of that time. But in hindsight, I think it was exactly where I was supposed to be, and really, I want the remainder of my time on this earth to be giving back to the people that coached me, mentored me, cared for me along my career, and are, now trying to figure out their own path in their careers. So that's really kind of where I see the last portion of this story going.
Oh, that's beautiful. Like moving from like mentoring, coaching, sharing your insights, and that's what alchemizes the pain. That's what I found. Like the moment I started writing this newsletter you referenced, like it helped me see like, oh, it alchemizes all the pain I've had because I can capture some learnings and help someone else and gives meaning to this journey.
Absolutely.
I was writing like it is people are moved towards, pleasure and joy, and we want to have a lot of that in order rather than, not to have the burnout that the nurses are having, but also meaning, right? And we need to play with those two things. And if we can have them at the same time, we do something that's fun and also meaningful.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I have a question from 𝘥𝘰𝘦𝘬𝘴. Was there a specific vision for yourself beyond your work around acceptance that you reconnected to throughout VisionPath that allowed you to feel really empowered and happy to stay in your career?
I didn't really have a specific vision related to work. Well, that's not true. I wanted to quit work. I wanted to get away, as far away from this work as I could possibly get. That was actually why I went to VisionPath to begin with. I was convinced that if I did VisionPath, I would suddenly have means to get as far away from what I was doing as I possibly could. So that was what I was trying to do with VisionPath. But instead, I sort of came back around and said, wow, actually, I don't really want to get as far away from it as possible. There are some things about this that it's really what I wanted all along. And so I think that was the thing that empowered me or made me feel empowered, was recognizing that it wasn't, I don't need to get far away to have what I actually wanted all along.
I love it. There's one exercise, I have it in VisionPath, but I was doing it with one-to-one clients, which is your ideal day. And I remember I was with a client in a meeting room. I had him draw in the drawing board, morning, the ideal day. And he draws like, I'm going to the office and I'm having meetings and I'm with the team. And then I go for dinner. And then he sees that and he had the same thing. Oh my goodness, my ideal day is the day I'm actually having right now. And he was so shocked. And it happens so much in this work. People think they needed to change directions. And the metaphor I use is sometimes you just need to, like the plane, if it changes like 2 grades of direction, it ends up in a completely different city. Sometimes you don't need to, you just need like 2 grades, and it can be the mindset, it can be the acceptance, it can be the gratitude, it can be something like, and also when you change the mindset and you show up in the work with a different mindset, you will start seeing the circumstances changing because people will engage with you differently. Like we kind of, people will mirror a lot of the times how we show up and the things you notice around you. So it's just slowly, maybe those 2 degrees are all the changes you needed to feel more aligned where you are without having to burning it all down or do a drastic change. And that's so reassuring, I think, for many of the people who have bills to pay, and and they might think, and I had people thinking, and taking a leap without doing the interconnection work, and then saying, I don't want to be, whatever, like flower thing, selling flowers. I really wanted what I was always doing. So I think it's an interesting message that doesn't get enough out, because we hear the big stories. And I have, like, in VisionPath, we have big stories. Like a client messaged me today. She was in education. Now she's launching a restaurant and she's going to come for an interview. I'm like, come for an interview as well. But we need the stories of, it was an inner work. And I think it always comes up to inner work in order to enjoy life, because circumstances will go up and down. Like life is like that. There's loss and pain, and there's happiness and joy and beauty. And it's the whole tapestry, as you said. And it's more around, how do I react to all the circumstances? Can I come home to myself? Can I listen to my inner wisdom? That's the game. And you're sharing this wisdom with all of us today.
Exactly. You're absolutely right.
Okay. Any other questions from our audience? So we're nearing an hour. I don't want to take more of your time. I know your working day will start. And as we're waiting for any last questions, Michelle, any last words for people who right now are tuning into this because they're miserable, whether in their city or at work or the situation? Any other words of wisdom, advice you want to share?
No, I would just say, hang in there, because nothing lasts forever. It's not permanent. And circumstances do change. They go up, they go down. So try to find the joy in what you can find right now, and wait, be still and wait. It will, things will change, and it'll be what it is, and just try to accept that. I mean, I think that's been my the biggest change that has helped me find joy, is just accepting that today is today, and tomorrow will come when it comes.
Thank you. This is beautiful. And with that, let me see what I have to share with the audience. I have a free guide for people, the 𝘰𝘪𝘴.com shifts, which is 10 mindset shifts. I thought, since we're talking about mindset today, I can offer this freebie. It's a free PDF talking about vision and mindset shifts. You can join this. You'll start getting the newsletter as well. For anyone interested in VisionPath, the doors are closed right now, but they will be opening in October. So you can go to the 𝘰𝘪𝘴.com waitlist if you want to find out when this happens. And with that, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you. You've been so generous with your time, and you've been so generous sharing the program as well. That was what was more impressive to me. Like after VisionPath in LinkedIn sharing, I thought, this person is so generous. And I was interested about learning more about the story. And when I found out what was it that made the shift, which is my deepest teachings, I was like, yes, the deepest part, the underground of the program, the more I'm just so grateful you took the time to share this with us.
I hope it makes a difference for somebody else, you know, because living with joy is a lot more fun than living in misery.
Yes, and we'll all be excited for your sabbatical and your your journeys and your growth, and your vision about helping the nurses, the burnout in the healthcare system, helping this industry who serve so many people, and they really need all the help and the support. So this is a beautiful mission as well. So anyone who would like to contribute, or you can connect with Michelle on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Katerina. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone, and see you in the next LeaderPath show. Take care.